You are tuned into the best damn recap and preview show in the United Football League. This is United Football Media's Tell Me About It. Week 10, final week of the regular season, man. It feels like it's flown by. We're already here for the playoffs, and everything worked out. All of the concerns about the playoff seedings, where the playoff games were being held, ended up being unfounded, as both Birmingham and St. Louis handled their business and earned those home playoff games that they were handed by the league a couple weeks ago. Good on them. Some solid performances this weekend. We're not going to waste too much time on the recap portion of today's show because there was not a lot of meaning, not a lot on the line here in week 10. So we're just going to go do a quick flyby of the results this time. Battlehawks, like we said, securing that number one seed, get the 13-8 victory over the Defenders, with Brandon Silvers only needing to attempt 8 passes. They got the win. Defenders had a ton of backups in, Mike Diallo at quarterback, et cetera. Good on them for coming through. Diallo, maybe if the weather was a little bit nicer, he maybe picks it up a little bit. Still managed to have 70% completion, a touchdown, 10 carries, 60 yards. The future might be looking bright over there in DC. Up there in Michigan, a good crowd and the double plum uniform, unfortunately, was not enough for them to pull off the win against the scrappy Houston Roughnecks, who have ended the season at 5-5, ladies and gentlemen, something that we definitely never saw coming in week 1 after they got blown off their own home field against the Battlehawks. They rally at the end of the season behind Jalen McClendon, who had another pretty solid game, 200 yards, was decent on the ground as well. Lovely finish for the Roughnecks. Panthers need to lock in and get ready for next week, the big showdown with Birmingham. Speaking of which, Birmingham puts it down on the Showboats 46-9. A beautiful ending of the season for our guy True up there. The Showboats complete yet another season in embarrassing fashion, after we were told throughout the offseason what they were going to be and how it was going to be different, and et cetera, et cetera. So, man, Jamar Smith, he looks like if he had started the season earlier, instead of getting drafted by Dunkin' Donuts, he might have been a damn MVP candidate. He has been incredible since he came in, and he was incredible again today. 77% completion, a touchdown, 130, was running the ball, had a rushing touchdown as well. Incredible job by him. Stallions rock and roll on the Showboats 46-9, securing that number one seed. And then an ode to the end for the King of Spring. Luis Perez rolls out with an 81% completion, 280 yards, was hooking up with Sal Cannella all day long. Tyler Vaughns as well. If this is it, man, thanks for all the memes. Thanks for, being one of the most reliable, fun to watch players in the league there. Luis Perez, what a story, man. From a guy who didn't play football at all, learned how to play through YouTube, went and tried out, was 7th on the depth chart in this college, and rose all the way to being a perennial star in at least the spring leagues, and also making a couple of NFL rosters on the back end of those rosters. Just an incredible story, man. If you ever doubt yourself or anything that you can do, set your mind to, just look at the Luis Perez story, man. Love everything that we saw out of him. A fitting end for him. Nice win, 23-6 over the Brahmas. The Brahmas need to retool, man. I don't know. Big changes. What a got to be one of the biggest disappointments in recent pro sports, because they were in the championship game last year. Appeared as if they had improved their roster in the offseason, and then came out this year and went 1-9, worst in the league, from first to worst, in a roster that we thought was going to be better, not worse. Shocking stuff going on down in San Antonio. Be interested to see a little look back, a little requiem out of the Brahma bullpen this week. Our man Josh from Brahma bullpen was, I believe, literally, this is not a joke. I'm sure there are pictures of it on Twitter. We'll repost at the UFM page. I'm pretty certain he was the only person in the press box covering that game. But that's because, Josh is a, I almost said the F word, a darn soldier, and about his business down there in South Texas, covering those sports. And we all, love and admire him for it. And that's just how the UFM rolls, man. Damn right. The guy from the UFM was the only person there in the press box doing his job. Love it. Keep it rolling down there in South Texas, and hopefully they give you guys a little more something to cheer about next season. Guys, any thoughts on week 10 of the UFL before we start digging into these playoff matchups? Drew, go ahead first.
I just enjoy watching the showboats lose. I mean, you go through a long season, 10 grueling weeks, and then you finally get to the end, and boom, the showboats do what they do best, and that's get slaughtered. And that was the best thing about this week to me. The rest of the games, it's kind of like fluff, a little bit like fluff. It's just you already know what you're expecting for the next week for the playoffs, so not much to really go off of. But I wouldn't take too much from the defenders in Battlehawks game, but at the same time, it does feel like the defenders could be heading towards a slight decline heading into this game, and these things matter. Battlehawks look like the best team to me in the league, so this could be their year. Not that this week had anything to really do with that, but it's starting to feel like it could be their year. And if it is, man, like I said, kudos to them. The Roughnecks, surprise, surprise, surprise. They right there in the middle of mediocrity, and that is a step above what I expected. So, the Brahmas look like the Brahmas, just absolutely terrible. Don't know what could be really changed. I mean, to go from one end of the spectrum to the next, you don't really expect them to do that. Then I definitely didn't expect them to be that bad, but I will say Tave did not have faith in them like that. So shout out to Tave for having faith, not having faith in them, because I thought for sure, I'm like, man, they're going to come back, they revamp, and they're going to at least be decent. I would never guess this. They look like the worst team, not only in the league, but like in the world. That's how they look this year, like the world, like the whole world, like every sport, like they look like the worst team. So, sad that the Brahmas went out the way they did, but it is what it is. Yeah, like I said, not much to take away from this week. Really ready for next week. We finally get into what matters, the bread and butter of this whole thing.
Tay, thoughts and feels here on week 10.
Kind of said it last week. Knew the showboats were trying to, just finish the season. So they went ahead and got blown out by 37. It just, just capped off their year. That's exactly how they played all year. They got some work to do. They have some good players, but they definitely have some work to do. Just with building a new roster next year, coaching staff, whatever the case may be. But the Stallions, that was definitely what you want going into the playoffs. Scoring 46 right before the playoffs, like that's how, as a practice game, that's what you want. I'm sure they ran every play they could see what works. I mean, well, it's a showboat, so everything worked apparently, but definitely something to look out for. Stallions look red hot right now going into the playoffs. The Brahmas, again, same thing. They were trying to end their season too. They finished 1-9. I didn't think they would be that bad, but yeah, I mean, one win, that's not a good look. And I wouldn't really take anything from that Battlehawks and Defenders game. I wouldn't take anything from that really, because the like everyone in the game, it's gonna look completely different. Like I feel like that was a lot of like second string stuff like that, just getting through the game, because you don't want to, because that's the matchup next week. That's the playoff matchup next week. You don't want to play all your cards, in a pointless game. So I feel like that's what that was. I mean, if you watched it, you could kind of tell, like, none of the guys were really in, like that, like really for either team. They were just trying to finish the game, because again, they don't want to, put out their game plan and get the film out there and whatnot. So I wouldn't take too much from that game either. Panthers, they're not playing with their quarterback. We know they're a good team, just like the Roughnecks. I got to give it to them. Roughnecks definitely, they turned it around. I feel like ending 5-5. They were pretty close. I mean, the playoffs were set a couple weeks ago, but I mean, they're right there. If they didn't lose so much early on, they could have got in. They could have got in at 6-4. Who knows? But yeah, definitely a great regular season, though. Definitely.
So here we are. Both teams, big home games. This thing, I don't know if it's quite the level of hype that it should be or what it would have been last year, but still, man, like St. Louis hosting a playoff game. This could be a real happening. This could be 40,000 plus in the dome. This is going to be fun because we got the best rivalry game, like a real rivalry game. Although I will say the other playoff game also, that matchup is developing into a very real rivalry. The best rivalry game, the two best teams, I think that a lot of people, except for now the Panthers, are the two of the best teams from the whole year, two of the marquee franchises of the league, head up. They already had a real good game earlier on this season. MVP candidate Jordan Tiamu. A lot of people feel he's probably in the lead for that now that Bryce Perkins, now hasn't played almost half the season. Big time stuff. Huge crowd, possibly. Big moment for the league next week. What do we think of the matchup coming up? Battlehawks, Defenders. Me and Tay are going to dig into it more specifically on DC Defender Show later on this week. But as of right now, the basics. I don't think it's hard to judge off of this last game. So we really haven't seen this build of the roster for the Battlehawks going against this version of the Defenders yet. This is the version of the Defenders that has the more high-powered offense. Maybe the defense is backing off a little bit. On the other side, Duggan really didn't even play. Brandon Silvers only threw 8 passes. You can't really judge it from that, but you can't judge it from earlier in the season because the way that the Battlehawks were operating with Manny Wilkins was much, much different than the way they were operating now. So it's a real wild card. I think the Defenders have the ability, as they've shown, to come in there and get it done, especially if Duggan is back in there and it's all run game all the time versus this MVP candidate quarterback fully in bloom at this point, Jordan Tiamu, because he wasn't. He just had begun to get there in that particular game, actually, in the Battlehawks game. It's when he really started to get it together. The offense started to get in rhythm in the passing game. Well, now he's fully there. The Battlehawks offense ain't quite what it was or has been. 8 passes are not going to get it done. I think the Defenders are going to be able to pull this off. Maybe a little biased, right? Because we're the DC Defender guys. But hey, it is what it is. Tay, what are your thoughts on this playoff game, man?
Definitely going to be a good game. I feel like the key to this game here is who could run the ball. Because it's playoff football is different. Like, you want to have all your options open, and if you can't run the ball, that probably means you're losing the game. You're playing from behind, So I feel like that alone, you got to set the tone. Both teams, running the ball. I mean, especially the Battlehawks, that's their thing. You don't know. You any given week, you don't know who is gonna lead their team in rushing and whatnot. So that's honestly the key to the game for both teams. Need to run the ball. Teamu, he needs to play his absolute best game. He's been playing, good football, especially the second half of the year. But I don't know. It's definitely a tough one. I still don't know who to pick. I mean, it's a pretty even matchup. Like, I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's an even matchup, and like I said, we just haven't seen these versions of these two teams go against each other yet.
Yeah, you truly don't know. But if I have to pick, I gotta go with the Defenders.
There you go. Tay's takes, by the way, at the beginning of the season ended up coming true. Not a lot of people had the Defenders going to the playoffs, and he was right on it. So there we are. True. What do you think, man? Defenders, Battlehawks in the dome, 40,000 plus. We're hoping. What do we got?
You know, I think the defenders have what it takes somewhat, but there's another part of me that feels like that home field advantage might be too much to overcome. And it's just like you're talking about, possibly 40,000 in there, like a fired up team that didn't get a chance to make it to the championship.
Remember that too. The championship's happening in St. Louis.
Yeah. So
what's that crowd going to be like?
Yeah. So you're looking at a team that probably wants to. Last year they didn't get a chance to. Do their thing. So I think you kind of have to take that into account. I think this is a toss a coin type of game. Like if the defenders can go out there and do what they do, I don't expect this to be like a blowout either way. I expect this to be a very tight game. Going to come down to me. I always agree with the the theory that defense wins championships. So it's going to come down to whose defense is better. And the Battlehawks, I'm leaning towards them, but I've seen things from the defenders over, the course of the season that make me think if they come in focus, they can do it. But it all goes back to the MVP candidate that you talked about and what version of him are we going to get? Old habits die hard. And for some players, you can have a Case Keenum type run. You could have a Sam Darnold type run.
Last year. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then boom, you just run into something. So it just really depends on what version we get of Jordan Ta'amu, but I don't want to go with the Battlehawks because I don't want to go against DC, Maryland, Virginia, the DMV, but I'm from Baltimore, so it's a little different. So I'm gonna go with the Battlehawks.
That's a difference, right? There's the DMV and then there's Baltimore.
Yeah. It's always been that way. So. But I think it'll be very close. If they win, it'll be like by a field goal, like down to the wire type of game, and so it could go either way. So
Birmingham, Detroit. This is tough, man. This is tough because you want it for Detroit. You want them to win a championship and something. They've been beat so many times in a row by this Birmingham team. So many times. And Detroit's looked so good at so many different parts of the season. But as of recording right now, there's still no update on Bryce Perkins and if he's going to play. And we all thought we were here earlier this season. The Friday night game with Arlington, that was the cheekiest thing we'd ever seen in our lives. We said, "Oh, Birmingham's dead. It's over. The regime of terror has been toppled in the UFL." And damn it, if they are not the hottest team at the perfect time with a guy playing MVP caliber quarterback who was working only for Birmingham, could this happen? Where the dude was managing a Dunkin' Donuts 4 weeks ago, and now he's playing MVP level quarterback so they could get a fourth championship in a row. Of course it happens for them. Home game. Hopefully they can put at least half the stadium full. It's old hat to the people in Birmingham. Oh yeah, fourth straight championship, whatever. Maybe we'll turn out for the game. Even with Bryce, I would be concerned. But if he's not playing, it kills me, man. But you got to go Stallions. And unless DC pulls it off, I think DC is a tougher matchup for the Stallions than I think the Battlehawks are. I don't think the Battlehawks, that one-dimensional stuff, I don't think it's going to get it done against the way that Birmingham is rolling right now. You're going to need that upside of offense from DC to have a chance of stopping. If that doesn't happen, I think the Stallions, despite what happened in the early season, really could be the odds-on favorite to win the championship right now. Hey, what do you think, man? Pick of this game, Birmingham, Michigan.
Okay, so I'm just doing some research. I noticed the Stallions have beat the Panthers every single time. Last year and this year. They're
I think the
5-0.
Panthers. Okay, yeah, I think the Panthers beat them back in the USFL days, but not since.
Yeah, but in the UFL, they're 0-5. That's definitely concerning. I think they lost 2 in a row. Well, they already had their playoff spot, so it doesn't really matter. But they haven't had like their team there. It's gonna be kind of hard to just, especially against the Stallions. It's gonna be kind of hard to just get back on the field and just rekindle and figure it out. But clock strikes right. A broken clock strikes right twice a day. I'm going with the Panthers.
I said it a couple weeks ago, right? I said statistically, this just cannot keep going. Statistical probability says the Panthers are going to beat them once. Damn it! So I don't blame you. Drew, what do we think, man? More misery for Detroit?
Dread it, run from it. I mean, I don't even got to finish it. Y'all know what it is. Look, you're never going to escape the Stallions' run. It just doesn't feel like it's like think about the NBA and the Eastern Conference all those years. LeBron kept just making it, and then he was like, "Oh man, he got a new team," and "Oh man, he traded Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose's corpse for like Jordan Clarkson and whoever else and Jordan Hill, and they still made the finals. And you still now, I think with the momentum that they have, it's a second life. When you get your second win, it's just that changes everything. And we've seen it before in sports plenty of times where the right move or the right whatever can change the momentum. Just anything could change it. I mean, so if Birmingham, they know what to do. They've been here before. Maybe not everybody, obviously not, Dunkin' Donuts guy. He has not been here before. But guess what?
No, he has. He was their quarterback when they were winning USFL championships.
Yeah, but I mean he don't know. He ain't Dunkin'. You come right in and but also I guess it's like riding a bike too, right? It's like riding a bike. You get familiar with it.
Because he's getting better every week somehow.
Yeah, when momentum is on your side, it is very, very hard to bet against it. And I actually understand why Tay would pick the Panthers. I just don't think the Panthers have shown me enough this season to be like, oh, you can stop this momentum. I don't see that. And once again, not like Birmingham has much of a home field advantage, which is another conversation for a different time. But I just can't go against the Stallions. I think the Stallions are gonna. I feel like they're just gonna do it again this year. I just feel like they're going to do it again this year. And like I said, you can't run from fate. Can't run from it. It's just gonna happen how it's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go with the Stallions. If the Panthers do win, though, that would be really funny. Just because you have not had any success, and then you pick the right time to play the best game of your life and do that. And if the Panthers can beat the Stallions, I'll be inclined to take the Panthers to win it all. Personally.
Especially if Bryce Perkins is in. The Panthers laid a whooping on the Defenders earlier on this year with Bryce Perkins.
Yeah,
I think all of it hinges on that. Destiny arrives all the same, as you were saying. So I guess we'll have to see if that. Another team that's going to keep doing it and doing it again and doing it again is the Tell Me About It team, coming to you from DAR Sports Media one more time, because we only got a few more times in the season to advertise it. DAR Sports Media up there in the search bar. Go ahead and throw us a sub on our homepage. We're doing NBA playoffs right now and NFL offseason grades. And we will be back here on United Football Media with Tell Me About It next week. Of course, later on this week, me and Tay, DC Defender Show, we're going to be breaking down this big playoff matchup that's on the way. Make sure you tune into the other programs here on United Football Media. Interested to see Brahma Bullpen give his story of being the Lone Ranger, the last man standing at the Alamo itself, literally in that press box. Tell us about that experience on the Brahma Bullpen. Of course, thoughts and feelings. A lot of anxiety over there on the PAWD podcast for the Michigan Panthers. Our man FBI Tugboat. Looking forward to how he's feeling on this playoff matchup on the way. All that, so much more, right here on United Football Media. This has been United Football Media. Tell me about it.